It was last winter, and I was living alone in a small neighborhood home on the edge of town. Beyond the backyard, everything turned into trees and undeveloped land. I'd lived there for about a year, quiet, isolated, but I liked it that way. This happened during a snowstorm weekend. Temperatures dropped below zero, and I stayed inside all day. That night, after dinner and some TV, I went to bed around 11 p.m. One thing I need to mention, for the last 3 months, the lock on my bedroom door had been broken. It was a push lock that clicked but didn't actually engage. I'd put off fixing it because I lived alone. As long as the main doors were locked, my bedroom door shouldn't matter. Sometime in the night, I woke up suddenly. My heart was racing. The house was pitch black and silent, but I could see my bedroom door was cracked open. I told myself it just didn't close properly. Maybe the cold wind shifted the house. I got up, shut the door, and made sure it latched. Then I got back in bed. But as I lay there, something in me wasn't satisfied. My gut knew there was more to this. I kept looking around the room, seeing only shadows. I probably lay there for 30 minutes before something moved in the house, a shuffle on the floorboards, either downstairs or in the hall outside my room. I sat up and listened. Nothing else. I was frozen, not making a sound. Eventually, I laid back down and waited. I don't even remember falling asleep. I woke up suddenly again, heart beating quickly just like before, and when my eyes adjusted to the dark, I saw the same thing. My bedroom door was cracked open. I stared at the gap, looking at the darkness beyond it. I tried to tell myself the door didn't latch properly, but that didn't sit right. I was very aware of how intentionally I closed it last time. I started to get out of bed, but just as I swung my legs out, something shifted behind the door frame, like someone moved out of the darkness between the crack and the doorway. I froze. I didn't hear anything. No footsteps, just the wind making the house creak. I stood motionless for 5 whole minutes before I ran to the door and slammed it closed, pressing all my body weight into it. But he didn't try to push it back open. 15 seconds of silence. Then, I heard soft footsteps slowly move down the hallway, down the stairs, toward the back door. I called the police immediately. They arrived in 10 minutes and searched the house. Found nothing. But as we stood in the kitchen, I glanced toward the back door and saw him, his silhouette standing in the trees behind my backyard. He moved away quickly before the officers could look. He was watching us through the windows. I spent that night at a friend's house. Over the next few weeks, after the snow cleared, I found something disturbing in the forest behind my home. Faint trails through the woods, like someone walking the same path over and over. The trail led right up to the back of my house. Whoever this was had been stalking me long enough to naturally make a footpath. And probably the most disturbing find, one of my back windows didn't lock correctly, just like my bedroom door. That night probably wasn't the first time he was in my house. I moved out, and I really hope I wasn't followed. This happened a few months ago on Halloween. I live in a really old apartment building on the outskirts of town. It was built in the early 1900s. Cheap, run down, but it's what I could afford. Over the last couple years, everyone else moved out. The rooms were left vacant. I genuinely think I was the only one still living in that building. Every time I walked through the halls, I never heard a single sound. It was just an empty, forgotten building. I remember a month before this, I'd tossed stuff in the dryer before leaving for work. Down all 3 stories, I could hear my dryer rumbling through the walls, filling the silence in the staircase. That's how quiet it was. On Halloween, I came home from work around 9 p.m. I sat on the couch to watch a horror movie. Then 3 loud knocks hit my door. I nearly jumped out of my skin. I hadn't heard anyone in this building for months. I cracked the door open and froze. There was a kid, a girl wearing a Halloween costume, holding up an empty bag. She just stood there, looking at me through her mask. No emotion. "How did you get in here? Do your parents live in this building?" She didn't speak, didn't seem fazed by the question. I leaned into the hallway and looked past her. No one else was out there. No parents, no other kids, dead silent. She suddenly turned and walked down the hall to the staircase and left. Didn't knock on any other doors. Something was really strange about that. I closed and locked my door, but I needed answers. I threw on my jacket and went to look around. The building was dead as usual, no signs of anyone else. When I got downstairs, the girl was gone. No one was near the building. As I was closing the front door, I noticed something. The keypad next to the door had a blinking light. This keypad hadn't worked since I'd been there. I always used my physical key, so seeing the light suddenly on was strange. I started heading back up to my unit. I passed the first floor, then the second, but stopped in my tracks. One of the unit doors was open. That had just happened in the couple minutes I was downstairs. "Hello?" No response. A chill hit my body. I hurried up to my room and closed the door behind me. I'd barely been inside for 10 seconds when loud knocks hit the door. I looked at the peephole. A man in full black clothing with a hood draped over his face. He pressed right up against the door. Then I heard something else. Footsteps in the hallway. More than one. They started whispering, low mumbles through the thin walls. I dialed 911 and went out onto the balcony, which had blinds covering it. Not a minute later, I heard a slight thump inside. Light shone into the room as the door creaked open. 2 men walked in and started looking around. My heart was racing. They came right up near the blinds but eventually left. I waited in the cold for 10 minutes before cops arrived. From the investigation, I was the only one living in the building legally, but I didn't get many answers. It felt like the men used the little girl to condition me to open the door, so when they knocked, I wouldn't think twice. I moved out in the following days. I don't know what those men wanted from me, and I'm thankful I didn't have to find out. I used to work the night shift at a small shipping warehouse outside of town. Just a concrete building with 3 loading docks and endless rows of metal shelving. Most nights it was me and 1 or 2 other guys, but during slow season, I was completely alone from midnight to 6 a.m. The peace and quiet was nice at first. Heavy machines that ran all day were silent at night, so even the smallest noise echoed. This night in particular was very quiet. No cars on the highway outside, no wind. I could hear crickets in the forest beside the building. I put my earbuds in and worked for a while. I was in the far back corner scanning a pallet when I heard something that made me stop. footsteps, light ones, coming from the front of the warehouse near the office. I took my earbuds out and listened. Nothing. Then I heard them again, slow and spaced out, like someone unsure where they were going. "John? That you?" I called out my boss's name. No response. The footsteps stopped. I walked toward the front. The warehouse lights didn't reach the office well, leaving it dim and shadowy. I flipped on the light and checked inside. Found nothing. Another hour went by. I headed back to the office to log everything. I was in there maybe 5 minutes when I looked up at the hallway window overlooking the warehouse floor. Someone was walking between the shelving rows. Just a silhouette, but clearly someone walking. I stood up so fast the chair tipped over. "Hey!" I shouted. They disappeared behind a shelf. I grabbed an old metal tool from the desk and stepped outside. I walked down slowly, calling out, "Who's here? You can't be in here." My voice didn't sound confident at all. I checked every aisle, every corner, found no one. Eventually, I made it to the far back wall. The only other place to check were the side hallways. I opened one of the doors and looked down the corridor. Empty. I turned to leave. Just as the door started closing behind me, I heard another door opening down the hall. I spun around and grabbed the door before it shut. A man stood at the end of the corridor. He looked early 20s, but disheveled and crazy, eyes wide open. It was horrifying the way he looked at me. I called out, asking what he was doing here, telling him he needed to go. He didn't seem to comprehend. He started taking steps forward. When he was about 15 feet away, I noticed something in his hand. He lifted his arm and hurled it at me. A hammer or large wrench. It missed me by inches and hit the doorframe beside me with a harsh metal echo that burst my eardrums. I immediately ran, hearing him chase me. I looked over my shoulder. He was just 10 feet behind me with that horrifying look. I made it to the office and locked myself in. He slammed his body into the metal door and tried opening it. He moved to the window and started ravagingly slamming his shoulder into the heavy-duty glass. He eventually realized he couldn't break in, turned around, and walked away slowly toward the other end of the building. I was already calling the police, but it took forever for them to arrive. The guy could have been anywhere by then. The cameras showed him breaking into one of the doors and stalking me during my whole shift, but no clear views of his face. No way to know why he was trying to attack me. I stayed at that job for a while afterward, but eventually left, figuring it wasn't worth the chance he could come back looking for me.